In this video, we're going to discuss which software program to choose when making a purchase of a STEPCRAFT CNC system. We're going to talk about 5 different programs from Vectric, and we're going to show you a comparison chart that's going to talk about the features and benefits of each. Our goal here is to ensure that you're buying the correct software to meet the application needs that you have in the future with your new CNC system.
Here at STEPCRAFT, we resell the following 5 programs from Vectric as part of our normal product offering. These include Cut2D Desktop, VCarve Desktop, VCarve Pro, Cut3D, and PhotoVCarve. And this chart will show you the common feature sets between the different programs, so you can compare to see what features you're giving up and what features you're gaining with different programs. Now, you'll notice in the very first line, 3D modeling and sculpting, that none of these software programs have this checked, and that's because this is a feature that's only available in Vectric's Aspire program. And due to the cost of that program, it's not something that we typically offer, but we can order it for you if you would like a copy, or you can simply go to Vectric's website to get a copy of it directly from them. The next section primarily deals with the ability to machine in 3 dimensions. Now, this is an important thing to understand. That's a major difference between Cut2D and the VCarve and Cut3D programs. Cut2D is a 2-dimensional or 2.5 dimension milling program. And basically what that means is you can do outline profile cutting as well as pocketing and hole drilling with it. But you do not have the ability to import a 3-dimensional object and carve that. So if carving 3D objects is something that you're planning on doing in the future, then you should really take a look at the VCarve programs or even Cut3D as an option, because Cut2D will be very limiting for you in that respect. So with that, the ability to do 3D machining is available on both VCarve versions, Desktop and Pro, as well as Cut3D. That also includes the ability to import single models of third-party files. So common files are STL and OBJ with regards to a 3-dimensional object, and you can import a single one into each of these programs. Now, the VCarve programs also let you import SketchUp 3D models. So if you're using SketchUp as a CAD program, you have the ability to import the SKP files directly into the VCarve programs. Now, the ability to import and assemble Vectric clip arts, which are V3M files, you have the ability to import multiple versions of those files into the VCarve programs, whereas Cut3D works strictly with a single model. Now, multi-sided machining, this is something that is very common in the CNC world, and it gets a little bit more intricate as you're dealing with a 3-dimensional object. So Cut2D has the ability to do multi-sided machining manually. So if you're machining a part and you've got to do some pocketing and holes on one side, you can set it up to flip the file over and index off in the correct XYZ position and mill the second side of it. That gets a little bit more intricate when you're doing a 3D model. Like if you were sculpting, say, a 3D flower, both sides of the model, then you definitely have to make sure that there's perfect alignment when you machine both sides, so that everything lines up properly. Now, the VCarve programs also, this is a manual process. However, Cut3D, this is one area where that program is really, really good, because it actually lets you machine a model on all 4 sides. So if you set up a fixture so that you can rotate your model 90 degrees in each direction, you can machine each side of the model. Or if you want to do 2-sided machining, you can do the top and then flip it over and do the bottom. And they call it semi-auto because there's still a manual process in fixturing the material and stuff, but the software does do the calculations to create the toolpaths automatically for you for both sides. So that is one feature. If you're looking at carving 3-dimensional objects, say like a chess piece, or something like a a model such as a horse or something like that, you may want to take a good look at Cut 3D because it has a lot of features built in to make that process a little bit easier. Now, the ability to do 3D model slicing, that is available in both VCarve programs as well as Cut 3D, and that's where you would actually be able to slice a model in half and create two separate carving objects out of that for the toolpath. So that's a feature that's available only in those three programs. Now, as we move down this chart, the next section is 2D design and drawing tools. Now, that is one nice thing with the VCarve and the Cut 2D programs, is that there are actually 2D design, such as like a CAD program, built right in, where you can lay out letters and do borders and curves, and it's actually a very powerful drawing and design program that's built right in. So if you're not currently using a CAD or a drawing program, before you go learning another program, you should really take a good look at VCarve and Cut 2D at the capabilities that it has for drawing, because I found the more I use it, the less I need to turn to a program like Adobe Illustrator or a CAD program to get my designs worked out. It's a very, very powerful tool, and that's built right in to those programs. So that's nice to have. Now, that's another important distinction, is that in the Cut 3D column here, you'll notice that 2D design and drawing tools are not part of that package. So people ask us all the time, what's the difference between Cut 2D and Cut 3D, and they assume like it's a version 2 and then a version 3, like Cut 3D is a better version of Cut 2D, and in fact, they're completely different programs. Where Cut 2D does not allow you to manipulate and work with a three-dimensional object, Cut 3D does not allow you to work with a two-dimensional. There's no drawing capabilities for it, and it's designed strictly for 3D objects and creating toolpaths for those. So that's a very important distinction between the two programs. So we usually will tell people that if you are looking to go and do both 2D and want to import some 3D models, to take a good look at the VCarve options, because it's kind of the best of both worlds. You have the ability to do 2D design and use the drawing tools and bring in 2D objects, as well as importing a three-dimensional model and doing carving. If you're going to get into a lot of 2, 3, and 4-sided machining, and you want to do a lot of complicated standalone 3D models, then Cut 3D is definitely the program to use for that. So the next thing as we move down here on the list is image tracing and vectorization. This is actually a really great feature in these programs. It allows you to bring in a bitmap image, and it will automatically, you can set it to automatically trace the image based on colors and shades, and it'll create a vector outline of those images. So if you don't really know how to draw, and say you have a logo for your favorite automobile brand, if you find a logo on Google Images or any other source, you can import that bitmap image into the program, and it will automatically do a trace around it so that you can create a toolpath. And it creates a vector, so you can scale it from that point to any size you need, and you can create a toolpath for it. Now, it does work with both color and black and white. I find that if I can find a black and white image of whatever logo that I'm using, it works much, much better, because there's less tuning that you have to do between shades of colors. But that is a feature that's available in those three programs, and we use it a lot. It's a very, very cool feature to have, and you'll find it very useful as you're growing with your CNC career. 2D machining, profile, pocket, drill, and inlay. As I mentioned before, those are the features that are basic in Cut 2D, and they're also available in the VCarve program. Now, that's another thing. All the features that are in Cut 2D are available in the VCarve programs. So you're not giving up anything by going to VCarve from Cut 2D. In fact, you're gaining a lot of stuff, such as the ability to do 3D objects and nesting and engraving and VCarving for letters. So you have all those features in those programs. But that is one common thing that they all have, is the features that are in Cut 2D are available in the VCarve programs as well. Now, true shape nesting is available only in the Pro version of VCarve Pro. And what's nice about that is, say you're doing a puzzle and there are 20 different pieces and you're going to lay them out on a piece of plywood. True shape nesting will actually allow you to manipulate those pieces on the plywood to minimize waste. So you can set it up to nest an object inside of another object, such as, say you had a big letter O. The center of the letter O would essentially be waste material, but if you had a smaller part, it will automatically put that part inside that O to utilize that waste material. So this is a really good option if you're maybe a cabinet maker, woodworker, if you like to do puzzles for crafts. It just minimizes the amount of waste that you have on your workpiece. Now you can do this with VCarve Desktop, but it's manual, so you can manually move the parts around to minimize it. It's just really nice to click one button in VCarve Pro and have all the parts automatically realign themselves to minimize waste. And also, if you have a large design, it will set up multiple sheets within the program. So say you had 30 parts and you can only fit 10 on one sheet, it will create 3 sheets automatically for you with the parts optimized. So that's a really powerful feature that you get with Pro that you do not get with Cut2D Desktop or VCarve Desktop. Now 2.5D V-carving and engraving. Now this is common when you're using a V-shaped router bit and you're doing lettering for signs. The bit will actually engrave a V shape for each letter, and as it gets to the ends of the letters, the Z-axis will move up to thin out the letter, whereas in the wider parts of the letter, the V actually goes deeper, and it gives you that really nice three-dimensional V-carve sign look. That's a standard feature on both VCarve programs, but is not available on Cut2D. Prism machining, texture, toolpath, and fluting. These are other features that are only available in VCarve and not Cut2D, and they just give you the ability to really customize the types of toolpaths you're doing, and it gives you the ability to do texturing and fluting. If you were doing moldings, you might want vertical fluting. That's a function that's built right into the toolpath section of VCarve. Now, the next one is really important if you're considering using a 4th axis for rotary machining. Wrapped rotary toolpaths is only available in VCarve Pro. So if you're considering adding a 4th axis to your CNC system, you will not be able to use the desktop versions of Cut2D or of VCarve. You will have, there's actually a gadget specific to VCarve Pro that allows you to take an object and wrap it around a cylinder so that the 4th axis will rotate as it's carving. So that's something to keep in mind if you are looking to go with a 4th axis system for your CNC, then you will need VCarve Pro. Now 3D toolpath preview. This is probably one of the most awesome features of Vectric. I love it because it gives you the ability to set up your design, do all of your CAM toolpaths, and then see the object in 3D on a material of your choice. And you can even color in the toolpaths so that, like, if you're doing a sign that's on a piece of oak and you're planning on painting the letters red, then you can actually set it up to show an oak piece of wood, and you can tell it that all of the toolpaths you want to make red. So you can get a really, really good idea of what your finished product is going to look like before you even move to the CNC and start cutting material. And I found that the accuracy between the 3D toolpath preview and the live job is 98%. I mean, the only reason I'm not giving it the extra 2% is because it's really up to you to set up the parameters correctly. So you got to make sure your wood thickness is correct and that you're fixtured properly. But for all intents and purposes, the 3D preview is going to be identical to what you're going to get. So that's important, because if it doesn't look right on the screen, nothing magical is going to happen when it gets to the CNC. You're going to get the same results. So all of the programs that we carry from Vectric have that capability, which is really nice. The next feature is realistic multicolor 3D toolpath preview. Now, what's nice about this is it will actually show you on the screen where the tool is going to move. So you can set a job up so that you can rearrange objects so it cuts things in certain orders, or you can let it do it automatically. So it will colorize where the tool is going to move when it's in the air, and also when it's engaged in the material. So again, this is really good. It gives you a preview so that you can see exactly what's going to happen in the CNC environment once you go live. You can tile toolpaths to cut in smaller sections. So this is important if with any of the software for that matter, with the exception of Cut 3D. For instance, if you've got a 840 from STEPCRAFT, you have just shy of 2 by 3 foot work area. Now say you want to make a sign that's 6 feet long, you have the ability to tile the toolpath into smaller sections and then move your material forward. So because the machine can't physically do a 6 foot long piece, you might break that down into 3 smaller sections and then just move your material forward and mill it in 3 separate files. So you have that ability, which is great because it allows you kind of an unlimited length with the CNC, even though the machine is physically smaller. So in some cases, people want to work on some longer jobs, but you don't want to necessarily go out and spend $20,000-$30,000 on a 8 or 10 foot CNC machine. You can accomplish the same thing with the software with a smaller machine. Now, the next couple items here are critical in the difference between the Cut 2D Desktop and VCarve Desktop, and we also have these features in PhotoVCarve, and that is the ability to cut larger than 24 by 24 inches without tiling. Now, if you're using a STEPCRAFT 600 or below, then you have the ability to do 600 by 600 millimeters in the desktop versions of the software. So the STEPCRAFT 600 and the 420 and 300 and 210 all have less than that working area. So you would really only need the desktop version to utilize the whole work area of the CNC. If you move up to an 840, then you will only be able to cut 600 by 600 millimeter area, and considering that the 840 is 600 by 840 millimeters, there's 240 millimeters of y-axis length that you will not be able to cut in one file. So the only way to do that if you're using a desktop version is to tile that job into 2 separate files. So it is possible, it's just one extra step you have to do. So that's important. I mean, if milling and carving using the entire machine bed is important to you, then you may want to consider upgrading to Pro, because you'll have an unlimited work area, essentially. So the next thing is toolpaths, templates, and toolpaths merging. Those are a little bit more advanced features that the average CNC user doesn't use, but it is available in the Pro version. So you have that as well when as you're expanding, as you're learning more in CNC. Now the last 2 things pertain strictly to the PhotoVCarve software, and we haven't really talked about that much in this video because PhotoVCarve is very specific for 1 or 2 different applications, and it's kind of like an add-on program. So if you wanted to do lithophanes or photo V-groove machining, you can't do those in Cut 2D or VCarve, so you would have to add on the PhotoVCarve feature, and that program would be good for those things. If you went up to the Vectric Aspire, basically everything we just talked about, everything on this chart is wrapped right into that one program, but it is considerably more expensive. So some people will buy VCarve Desktop for all of their 2 and 3D machining needs, but then they decide they want to get into lithophane creation, or they want to etch and engrave photographs into a material. So you simply purchase PhotoVCarve, and that does those things for you. Now, lithophane creation is where you're taking a photograph, and it creates a three-dimensional carving of that photo into a material that is translucent, such as candlestone or corian. And when you backlight the workpiece, the image now lights up, and it creates a three-dimensional black and white photo. It's actually very, very cool, and that's something that you can do with PhotoVCarve. PhotoVCarve machining is where you would use a small 90 or 60 degree V-bit in your machine, and it will take a photograph and it will machine the surface of the material, and as it moves back and forth, it increases the depth or decreases the depth to create the illusion of shading on a photograph. So that's something that can be done in a variety of materials, and again, it's not available in Cut2D or VCarve, so that is a feature that is strictly PhotoVCarve or Vectric Aspire related.
In summary, Cut2D is a great program if you're looking to do 2 and 2.5D cutting, milling, as well as pocketing and hole drilling. However, if you're looking to also utilize your machine to do 3D carving as well, then you should take a look at VCarve Desktop. Now, whether you go with VCarve Desktop or VCarve Pro is largely up to you. Understanding the VCarve Desktop has a size limitation of 24 by 24 inches. If you do decide to purchase the STEPCRAFT 840, you need to know that you will not be able to utilize the entire working bed with the desktop version of the software. However, you can tile a job into 2 files to make that work. Largely, customers will choose VCarve Pro when they're looking for additional functionality, such as intelligent nesting of parts, 4th axis capability, and so on. In this description for this video, I'm going to include a link to the comparison chart, and there's a comparison PDF file that Vectric provides that goes into much more detail about all the little nuances with each software program. As always, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 203-556-1856 or visit our website at stepcraft.us.